After the splashdown of the Dragon SpaceX capsule, we have seen it go through its deorbit. We have seen it do the rotating, and we are watching all the ships, the chaser ships that are getting ready to capture this hundreds of miles off of our coast and Georgia coast. Continuing to monitor the Dragon capsule, we could be just moments away from the actual splashdown. So if you will bear with us, we're going to stay with us for a little bit and at times listen in to Mission Control out there at the Cape and see exactly what is going on. We've been monitoring their feeds all morning long. The Dragon capsule, of course, spending 5 days at the International Space Station, and on board is a mannequin, a dummy called Ripley, which is obviously an homage to the Aliens movies with Sigourney Weaver. But if that mannequin can survive the trip up and the trip back down, then perhaps by June, Amy, we might have human beings going back into space for the first time in many, many years from Cape Canaveral.
Right, and the way the Crew Dragon will come down, they use a system of both parachutes and jet propulsion so that it comes in slowly. We're hearing about 20 kilometers in altitude right now. Jamie had a map up earlier that showed sort of a purple box where they anticipate it making splashdown off the coast there of northeast Florida and South Georgia. It was fascinating to read that they were saying people in Montana, the Dakotas, might actually be able to see the Crew Dragon streaking across the sky as it makes this reentry. And as you know, it is a dangerous part, this descent, as we know from what happened to Columbia. It is not an easy thing. They have to make sure that it is all protected by heat.
If it's 20 kilometers out right now and we're seeing it come in, then it looks as though the heat shields have done their job. And so we're seeing the parachute coming out right now. Well, this is a massive moment, and this hurdle right here obviously is key, but in the next few months they'll also be testing whether or not the abort system will be able to work. We talked with John Coward from NASA just the other day. This whole series of tests is going to happen in the next few months to make sure that the astronauts can survive both the trip up and the trip back. But this is a fantastic sign. You can hear the cheering going on at Mission Control. Can we hear them?
Prior to that flashing.
You can hear cheering here at SpaceX headquarters as the employees that have gathered around our Mission Control Center are sharing the same view as you. What a gorgeous shot of Dragon coming back down.
Well, again, Go Chaser is the big ship that's going to be capturing.
Big one there.
Yeah, isn't that
That's
gorgeous?
fantastic. Yeah, because the smaller ones with the amount of drag, if you do the larger parachute too soon, it wouldn't be able to handle that kind of speed. But slow it down enough until you can put out the larger parachutes. And every step, there's obviously all kinds of little things that we're not seeing that are happening on their computer screens there at Mission Control. That is one cheer after another. Boy, that is a gorgeous sight. We haven't really seen anything like this.
No.
This was so reminiscent of the Apollo days.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't
it's amazing
it? Yeah,
to watch.
obviously because the shuttles would actually touch down like an airplane, as you remember, at Cape Canaveral.
Now the pads out there where the rocket actually lands back on the pad floating out at sea.
Yeah, fascinating. So again, Go Chaser will then go out and pick up the capsule, hopefully minimal damage to it, and then they will bring it back to Cape Canaveral. That will happen today. They will actually take it back on the ship. And then once they get it back to Cape Canaveral, they're going to go over it, see what kind of damage there is, fix the damage, and this actual capsule will go back out on the launch pad. And as you indicated, Bob, maybe sending up astronauts as early as July is what they're projecting. So it's truly fascinating.
We're going to see the splashdown here in just a moment. It appears as though it's coming down exactly where they thought it was going. It seems like it's going so slowly at this point with all of the with all of the parachutes,
which is actually good,
which is fantastic. Yeah.
Space station, we have.
It's going to be. It looks like it's going to be a very gentle landing in the ocean. We're going to take a look here.
Much more gentle than what they do in. Remember how they do it in Kazakhstan? They actually drop down into the desert, and that is a very bumpy ride. That is not fun for those astronauts.
We just passed 5
I think the astronauts now are very happy about the SpaceX.
Continuing to look good via reports.
We're only 500 meters out, folks. This is going to happen any moment.
I love it. You can hear the laughter there in Mission Control. They're so excited.
They're so psyched. So clearly it looks like the heat shields have done their job because everything's operational on board the Dragon capsule.
300 meters, continuing to descend. We might be right on time. We were planning on splashing down at about 5:45 a.m. Pacific, and we're getting real close to that bingo time.
Man, it was so perfect. It could almost land on the deck of the chaser ship, right?
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to get to see that recovery as well. I'm sure it will take them some time to be able to pick it up and pull it onto the ship. They have a crane system that helps to lift it up out of the water. And again, as you mentioned, it is reminiscent of the Apollo missions. And they're going to be checking over Ripley really good, all kinds of sensors on Ripley to see how the dummy did on her descent, and you know, obviously make sure that astronauts.
Here we go. Isn't that amazing?
So cool.
That is amazing.
And there we have
And look, right where the boats are waiting for him.
Dragon has returned to planet Earth. It is now back home. And you can see on your screen our two fast boats racing out to the capsule, now in recovery.
That splashdown came right on time, 5:45 a.m. Pacific, 8:45 a.m. over on the East Coast. The teams that have been ready and waiting, they were staged just a few nautical miles away. They're going to start moving in now. You can see those two fast approach boats already speeding their way towards the capsule.
So those are the speeder boats that are going out there, but the actual chaser boat that's going to come out with the crane, that is still making its way to the Dragon capsule clearly, because those are the much smaller boats that will be racing out maybe to welcome the astronauts that would be on.
It seems to work perfectly. Everything that they were anticipating, it all looks good at this point. They're going to want to be checking the heat shield on the underside of the Crew Dragon to make sure that there's not a lot of significant damage there. Once it's brought back to Cape Canaveral later today, they're going to do cargo removal. There was some items that were put onto the Crew Dragon by the folks there on ISS, the astronauts. There will be refurbishment, and then as we mentioned, they're actually going to haul it back out to the launch pad, and it's going to go up again.
I should also make mention, if you are so interested, because you can see NASA is streaming all of this footage right here, but NASA's going to have another stream coming up on Monday, because it is a very exciting time. It's a real renaissance out at the Cape. They'll be announcing all of the different plans that are coming up in deep space, missions to Mars, the new launch pads that are being built out there at the Cape to handle not just the SpaceX, but all the ULA, and Boeing is launching things as well. So it is a literal space port out there at Cape Canaveral, and this appears to be, from everything we're seeing and hearing from the cheers, a successful return of Dragon capsule.
Certainly an exciting time for us living here in Central Florida, and those of you on the Space Coast, we know you're excited too. Much more continuing coverage right here on Good Day Orlando when we come back.